questions, this is your best friend. Just go, get that book, Stack Overflow, yay. No, I'm just kidding. I just saw it in another talk and I thought it was funny because we all, let's be honest, we all use the Stack Overflow to find some answers in there. Alrighty. So let's go back to, so there are a few things we're going to do tonight. So first, I want to know a little bit if you know Python. So you can just write in the chat the letter Y for yes and the letter N for no. So I can have an idea. Starting it, okay. Okay. Okay, another question would be, have you used Google Collab before? No, no, yes, no, intro. Okay, so for the people that haven't used Google Collab, it's not very complicated, and I'll walk through it, how to get there, but you'll need a Google account. You need a Gmail account in able to do it. That's the only requirement you need for. So you can try to do the exercises. So this is my GitHub. I'm gonna copy it in the chat so you can go there. And then whenever you go there, you have these two links. So the one that we're gonna start using is the first one that it says this is the concepts and examples, because the other one has just the exercise solutions and we don't wanna cheat, right? We just wanna try to do it. So you're gonna go ahead and click there. And then it's gonna show you this screen. So the first thing that you need to do, you need to save a copy of this. So you will do File, Save a Copy in Drive. And then it's gonna create a copy in your drive so you can be able to use that. So is everyone good? Any questions? So a few things about here. You have the option to add code, lines, or text. You don't have to do that because I already put the spaces in there for it. So I will keep going back and forth because I'm gonna use my Jupyter notebook for it because it's better. I like it more. I really use Collab just to share the information, but every time you wanna run this is just a concept, but when you run a cell, it will be here. It will be just right here. If you're gonna run this one, you just click in there and it should work. You don't have to install anything. Everything is in there. So I'm going to go back. No questions, but if you have any questions, just shoot them away and we'll reply them as we go. Okay. So why Bokeh? So the greatest idea that they could build this is because you have different options in Python. You can use one that is called Matplotlib, and you can use Seaborn. But the greatest of this one is just that you could render the graphics using HTML and JavaScript. So you don't have to code JavaScript, you don't have to code HTML a lot, but it's working in the background for you to be able to display it. You can put it on a website, you can present it for a business, perfectly like a website, it will work. So as you see here, you have the Bokeh JavaScript. We will transform it to the visualization, and it will go all rendering with the HTML. So you can use with Bokeh, you can use Python, you can use R, you can use Lua, and you can use Julia too. So what we'll be using tonight will be Python. So the first thing is, what are the steps to build these visualizations with Bokeh? So I'm gonna stop here because this was funny today. And someone was asking me about some information about this talk. And then she says, well, it says they prepare the data. Is that something that Python does? Because the data, what does that mean? The D and E, what does that mean? And I'm bilingual, so sometimes I think in English or sometimes I think in Spanish. So the data, so it should be prepared the data. But I was like, well, it's okay. I am not perfect. I'm just gonna leave it like that because it is what it is. So I left it there, but it's prepared the data. And what you will use pandas under the NumPy library to transform it and to suit it the best for your visualization. It depends on what you want to do and show. That's the first part. The second part will be determine where you are going to render the visualization. And we'll be showing an example in a little bit. So what it means is you can just show it in this notebook because you're working on it and you don't want to show it to anyone else yet. And then also you can just set up and say, I want it in this site and I wanted to call it this name, and it will render in a site too. And the next will be to set the figure. So what it means is that you create a figure, you instantiate it for you to be able to visualize it. And then you will customize it, like you will add titles and labels and marks, and you'll enable the interaction. After that, you will connect and draw the data. So there are multiple ways for you to render this data. You can have it like from scratch, or you can have it available with marker and shapes options that are a little easier to customize. And we'll see that in a little bit as well. And Bokeh has a lot of built-in functionality that you could use for that to make it easier. The next thing will be organize the layout. And it has an option that you can use more than one figure in different grids by layouts in different options as well. You can organize into tape layouts as well in a few lines of code. It's not a lot of lines of code. So we'll go in some examples as well with that. And then you preview it and save your creation. That's what whenever you tell it, I want it in the browser, I want it in a notebook, but do I want to explore it to examine it before I'll use it. So this is a little template I have. So the first thing is the data handling. Whenever if you're going to use a Python, you will import the pandas library and the NumPy if you need it. And then this is the Bokeh libraries. So mostly this is what you will use. You will use this is import out file or notebook. So this one you will use to import it outside in an HTML, or this one you will decide to use to keep it in the notebook and don't get it outside. This one will be for building the plotting, for use the figure and show that figure after. The column data source is the one that you will use because you have the ability to use Bokeh instead of use a lot of Python. You can use less and you can just work with the data using that option. The layout, which will be the row, the column, and the grid plot, that are the ones that will help you to put them in tabs or to put them in the same sheet, but a couple of them in the same one. Prepare the data, any transformations that you need to do for prepare that data, which it could be pandas or NumPy, or it could be the column data source there. Determine where the visualization will be rendered. So here, if I use output file and I put the file name .html, it will render to a static HTML. If I use this one, it will do it in here. So I have this one commented because once I do it, I have to reset everything all the time because it will go to the HTML. And right now I don't want to go back and forth. So I have it commented and I'll render it here. And then set the figure. So you put it a name of the figure and then you instantiate it. And here inside is whenever you're going to do all the properties. Then you are going to connect the draw data. And then you are going to organize the layout. Those are functionalities that you add to organize it to make it look better. And then you will preview it and save it using the show function and calling the figure. So this, because it doesn't have anything, it tells me a warning that I don't have a plot or anything. I was just trying to show the template for. Okay, so here we go. Drawing the data with glyphs. A glyph is a vectorized graphical shape marker that is used to represent your data, like a circle and squares. And more examples, you have a link there that you could check it out and how to configure that as well. So what do we do here? We're importing the libraries I need for right now. And then I'm gonna work for my data. This is gonna be my data. This is gonna be my number. This is what I'm gonna use for X, and this is what I'm gonna use for Y. And then I'm going to say, I wanted to get my visualization in here. After that, I create my figure. And I said, what is the title for? What the height it is, what the width it is, what will be the range that I want to use, if I want to use a specific range for the numbers on the sides. And if I want a toolbar as well, I say none because I didn't want any at the moment. And then I'm going to draw the coordinates as circles. So these are the circles that I'm drawing there. So I'm saying for X, give me an X, which is here, and for Y, give me a Y that is in here. I'm saying to use the color green, and I wanted the size 10, and I want this alpha to be 1.5 to give it a better look. And that's it. You have your first one. That's it. Those are the lines of code that you have, and you already have your visualization. If you have any questions on the way, don't hesitate to ask. So once you have that figure initiated is when you draw those coordinates, which is what I was saying in here. Also, you have different categories. You have markers that you can use circles, diamonds, you can use triangles, you can change it to make it look better, and you can put a couple different ones, depends of what the data is asking about. You can also do bubble charts and scatter. And also you can do line covers like single, like step, multi-line shapes. You can do almost everything. You can do bar, rectangle shapes. You can create any stack bars with H bar and column B bar, as well as like a waterfall or Gantt charts. There is a resource here that it goes directly about that. So these glyphs can be combined as a need for your visualization. So let's say we want to create this visualization. How many words I wrote per day to make this tutorial? So again, I'm importing here the library I'm gonna use for the data, and I'm importing the libraries that I need for Bokeh. This is my word for the data. So I'm saying for the day number, I'm saying that I want this. And then the hours to study each day. That's what I did every hour I did every day. And this is I'm calculating the accumulated words I did per day. And then in here, I'm saying that I wanted to show it up in here. So after that, I instantiate again my figure, and I give it my title, my height, my width, my labels, what I want the names to be. If I want to use this range, I decided I want from 0 to 10, and then the toolbar location, which is going to be none. And then I'll say I want to put the figures. So you can put more than one thing. You could put a bar and a line, which I'm doing here. I'm saying I want to use a bar, and I want to use day num, the day num, which is in here. And I'm saying that the button starts with number 0. And I'm saying at the top, put me the daily hours that I studied, that I set up on before. I want the color blue, and I want the width of that 0.75. The legend label, I want it to be called daily. And then I'm doing a line that it gives me the day numbers and the cumulative words. And I'm saying, give me the color gray, and the line width is gonna be 1, which is gonna be really small. And then in here is the other part that you could do. After you instantiate this, you can add other functionality if you want to. You can add it in another line, and you just call it fig.legend.location top left. So you are calling your figure, and then you say, show me that figure. So here I have the study hours on the left. Here I have the day number, and I have my line, and I have my V bar. So to combine them, you just use the figure, right? I use this figure because I'm using the figure in both, figure that line and figure that B bar is what it makes it that I put it together. Additionally, what I say before, you can do the legend again, and then you can do it properly for each glyph if you want. The legend was moved to the upper left corner and the plot was assigned to the top left of the legend. Let's see, I am missing. SDG. So Lenka, can you tell me what you're trying to do? Are you trying to run a cell, or can you tell me exactly what you're trying to do? Patricia, the link to Collab is in GitHub. The link to GitHub, let me share it again in case. So this is the link to the GitHub, and if, okay, she got it, good. And Lenka, if you explain to me what you're trying to do, I might be able to help. I just run the cells you show. Okay, did you run all the cells? Like if I go here to mine, I have to run each cell. So I run the first one, I run the second one, and it works. And then I'll run this one again, and then it works. Make sure, Lenka, you save copy drive. You need to first do file, and then you need to save copy in drive before you run it. You need to save it in your Google Drive. If you don't save it on your Google Drive, it won't work. Okay. Okay, now it comes the fun time, because I want you to do an exercise. I want you to practice what I just explained. Okay, Lenka, you might be missing a library. You need to make sure you style the libraries, because if you don't have any of the libraries I'm using, it might not work. So you need to make sure you have Bokeh, you have NumPy, and you have pandas. So here it is. So you have the data for the X line and you have the data for the Y. So what you have to do is just create a line plot. And I'll give like 3-4 minutes. If you have any questions, let me know. It's pretty easy. You just have to guide your steps from here, and you can build a plot. Whoever finished first, let me know. Yeah, I believe we are recording this, right? Yeah, we are recording it, so you'll be available after. You have the answers there in one of the links, but try not to look at this. It's pretty straightforward. Yes, and it comes as a triangle. Cool, so it looks like you got the answer already. So, and then you're the winner. So you're gonna tell me what do I need to do first? You can unmute yourself and talk if you like, or you can just write something. I just want you to tell me what the first step that I should do. Or anyone else that wants to jump in and say. Import, I have to import the libraries. I have them import already, but just as a practice when you're learning, I learned from many practices that I will forget to import the library even at first, so I wouldn't do it. So when I'm learning something, I prefer just to import them. So it would be Bokeh libraries. And then from Bokeh dot import. So I'm going to import the figure, and then I'm going to show, and then from Bokeh dot io, I'm going to import, where do I want it? So I want it in the notebook. So I want to pick notebook. And then what do I do next? So it comes the, what does it come next? So where to output? So the output. So I want output, the notebook. I'm gonna call that. And then what it comes after? Anyone else could answer if you like to. The figure. So set up the figure. So I'm gonna call B equal figure. And then I'm going to put the information I need there. So we're gonna start here. So I want to say plot width, and I'm gonna say 300. And then I'm going to say plot height. I'm gonna say 300. And then I'm gonna make it a title. Triangle. And then I don't want a toolbar for now. Equal none. And that's it here. What is next? The vertical line. Oh, thank you. What do I did make with? I always have that trouble. So that's normal in my life. Thank you for it. So, and then I'm going to do B. So I'm going to do the line, and then will be that line, right? And then I'm going to say what is going to be X, will be data X, and then Y will be data Y. And then I want to see how thick I want the line. And I'm gonna say 2. And then the last thing, show the figure. So it will be show, and I'll call my B. Again, see? Again. What did I miss? I have my width spell it right. And what am I missing? BLT. The mixed spelling life. Oh my gosh. I removed it from wrong place. Plot. Okay, I have this. What else did I spell it wrong? With. Okay, I forgot to run this. And then you got your triangle. So bear with me. I spell things wrong sometimes. Nice. Good. Okay, so now let's continue. So it is always good to take a data set that you know a little bit so you can be able to practice when you are learning something. And the greatest thing of Bokeh that you can do almost everything. So now using the column data source object. The column data source object for the data in Python, it comes across dictionaries, data frames, and if you are reading that data from an external data source, that's the way that it comes from Python. And Bokeh is really, really good with complex data structure, and even it has really good build functionality that is called the column data source that we're going to work on. This column data source, it helps you to pass the data to the glyphs that you are using. And it also, what it does, it maps it to the columns to your data. So this makes it a lot easier for you to build your visualization. So the column data source can interpret different data objects, which is the dictionary, the data frame, and you can also use the group by in there. So instead of use Python in there, you can just directly use your group by with the column data source. You can do it and you don't have to use Python for it. So I choose to use a data set that's basketball, which is weird. Basketball in the US for me is complicated because they have so many teams and I'm from a small country. So where I grew up, they have like four or five teams and you can keep up. Like you can know who is winning, who is losing and everything. But here for me, it's impossible. And but I picked it. I want to kind of like look what they do, how they evaluate things a little bit and to understand that as well. So I'm just reading the CSV files. In this case, I read them directly from my GitHub to be able to use, for you to use the Collab if you needed it to. So you have all the data and everything there without a problem. So I'm reading them and I'm just looking how the standings looks like, the data set for the standings. And what I'm doing here is that I want to pull the, I want to group the teams and I want to sum them with the, based on the games that they won. And I want to sort them by, to see who won, to see how many, who was first, who was second, who was fourth and fifth. So, and usually whenever you're explaining something, they usually are like, let's see who won, who is the first. I just want to look the second one, the third one and the four people and just work without data just to do something else. So I pick the Boston Celtics and the Toronto Raptors. And what I'm doing, I'm going to use here again, pandas because I want to pick them, just select them. And I want to just get the date. I want to get the, which team it is and the games they won. And I'm just sorting them by date and the team. And this is what I'm going to use to do the next visualization. So what I do again, import the libraries, right? And then I'm going to say output in the notebook again. And then here I'm working with the data. What do I want to do? So what I'm doing here, because before I didn't have a data set, I just put information manually. Now here I'm just calling this West 3rd and 4th from here that I worked on here. And I'm just going to say in this one for Boston data, just put me in here, just choose equal Boston. And then for here use equal Toronto. Now I'm going to use the column data source object, which is the different things than before that I wasn't using. So I'm creating that column data source, and I'm calling this one that is isolated already for me, and I'm just assigning it to use this for the my visualization. And going forward, you will see why do we do this. We are doing this for parts because later we are not going to do this. We're just going to use this to do everything. Now I'm just going to create my figure. And then I'm going to say my access type, which is going to be a data time. My plot is going to be 300, and I title it Western Conference 2nd and 3rd teams races. And then the axis labels is the date, and the white is the wins. So I want to look the dates versus the wins for both together in the same visualization. So I'm going to render them in a step. And so I'm using fig data step in this case. And then I'm using date and games that were won. So you don't have to do X and Y in here. You can just put directly the names. And then you can use the color. You can use it like this as well. You don't have to put green or gray. You can use it, you can use the RGB color too. And then the labels and my source, which is this different attribute I'm using right now. I'm using Boston CDS, which is from here from the column data source. And same here, I'm using the same things. I'm just changing the color, using another label name, and I'm using Toronto for it. So I'm assigning the data information that I need to use from each. And then I'm just saying, move the legend to the upper left corner at the end. And then I'm showing my figure. So here you have the wins, here you have the dates per date, and here you also can see per colors how was the race. It looks like here they were really tight, and then they separated at the end, and the Raptors were winning. So like I said before, you can use the RGB or you can use the hex value for it. You don't have to put the column name. So the other great thing that you could do with the column data source, you can do more than just one thing. You can use the data frame columns, and you can do all those built-ins in using CDS view. So what does that mean? Instead of using in Python and doing the group binding there, I can just go ahead and do it with the view, with the column data source and using a view. So I can use group filter and select the rows from a column data source based on a categorical reference value. You can use index filter as well, which it will do a list of integers, and you can use Boolean filter as well, that it will allow you to use the list as a Boolean values with true rows being selected. So you have all those options. So in this case, I'm going to use group filter. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before, but instead of using Python, I'm just going to leverage in Bokeh. So what is the difference here? So I have my data here from West 3rd and 4th. And what I'm doing here from West 3rd and 4th, I'm just creating for each team. And I'm saying CDS view, what is my source, which is this. And I'm saying, what is my filters? I want them to be grouped by team and by the oh my gosh, I forgot the word, by the team name. Team name, which is Boston, grouped by team name. And then the other one will be for Toronto. So I'm doing the same thing, I'm just not doing it the other way. So I'm here, I'm creating and configure the figure. Same thing as I'm doing before. The only difference is doing this part. I'm using data time, the plot size, the titles, the labels is all the same thing. And in here, there is a few differences. So I'm using source, which I used in the one before, But the other thing I'm using is I'm saying for view, what do I want to show? I want me to show you, I want to show the grouping already. So I'm using Boston view 4, which it comes from here. That's the difference. And I'm doing the same thing for the other one. I'm showing the location as well on the top left, which is the same thing. And I have the same plot, which is less line of code. So it all depends on what you need to do, but it's really flexible for you to do it, and you don't have to use pandas for. And note that here I use Western third and 4, but you could really use the whole data set for. You could just take this one. You could just take this one and do it as well. So now it's your turn again. So this is a data set that is a sample data set from glucose. So I'm just here importing that data set. And then I'm saying, show me the data. I'm downloading it and I'm importing it here. So this is how it looks like. This is the glucose and the IDs, and this is the daytime. So now you're going to do, first, you're going to use just Python to just pull 1 week, because you don't want to use the whole data set because it's too big. So you're just going to do a range of a week with Python. And then you are going to build your plot using the column data source like the first example. So don't get complicated with this yet. So what you're going to do is just create the column data source like here. So you will pull a week and you create a column data source like this. And you will just have one, because this is just one thing that you're going to show. So give it a try. I'll give a few minutes. Did anyone finish yet? Or almost? Or lost? I'm gonna give 1 minute more. So Copiga asks, what is our X? So for X, you can use the data, the daytime. And for Y, you can use the glucose. You never want your date to be the Y. It will look weird. All right. Did anyone finish it yet? Or almost, or closed, or errors? Okay, name column data source is not defined. So did you copy gas set? So did you define your column data source? Remember, first you have to take the week of the data and assign it to a variable. And then after that, you have to create the column data source. What does that mean? It means like if you go here, like this example, this is your data. So in here is you just have to pick a week. I mean, you could do the whole data set, but it's not gonna look right. So here you are importing it, and here you are going to have your data, and then you are going to create that object with this information. So in the exercise, it's just one, it's not two. So we have Boston data here and we have Toronto data, but in the other one for the glucose, you're going just to have one. So you can call it glucose, and then you can say equal, and you can just do a slice for a week. And then after that, if you call it glucose, you'll say glucose underscore CDS, and then you'll say equal column data source, and you need to make sure that you have capitals each first letter, and then you are going to call that data before you do the figure. So you might be missing that. And one of the important statements said column are data source. One of the important statements said. So what line are you referring to, Anna? Can you point me where are you saying, are you seeing that? Oh, okay, good. It was just an answer. Okay, so I'm not going to show the answer. You have the answer already there. You have in the other notebook. So I'm going to continue because I want to explain the other things and have enough time for it. So you can refer back to, if you go to my GitHub, there is a second link for the solutions. So now let's talk about, and if you have any questions at the end about the solution or anything, we could go over. Let's talk about organizing the visualization with multiple layouts. So you could have multiple layouts to have multiple visualizations or, in the same page or different pages as well. So this is the same slides I did before. I just put it in here for reference because we are going to reuse it again for the example. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do a plot for Boston and one for Toronto. Why? Because I want to show you the example of how the layout works. So this is the same thing again I did previously. The only difference is that I'm putting them separate. So I'm doing the Boston Celtics separate. So before in the previous one, you'll have two of these that is stepped, one for Boston and one for Toronto. Everything else is the same. But I'm using here the CDS view. I'm using the column data source, creating the column data source, and I'm using the source from here, and I'm filtering right here, saying just pick the group for Boston. Just pick them right there. That's what I'm saying. And then I'm rendering it the same way, same thing as before, same options. I'm saying the same legend location. So the only difference here is that we just have the Boston Celtics. And in here, we have the same thing again, but we are using it for the Toronto Raptors. So I'm creating the column data source from my previous slides, and then I'm creating the Toronto view. My Toronto view will be from this source. I'm saying give me this column name and group it by Toronto. And I have my other line plot as well. So I have both of them separate. So what do I want to do with both? I want to take both and I want to put it in a layout. So one is called West Figure 2 and the previous one is called West Figure 1. So we're going to add them together. What is the difference? In here, I'm just adding output notebook again, just for practice. And I'm importing for layouts, I'm importing the grid plot because this grid plot will help me to put them together. So I have the figure 1 and the figure 2. I'm saying what is the title I want to name them. And I'm saying that both of them, I want the size to be 300. in this case, I'm creating this variable called grid plot, and I'm saying with the grid plot, put me both of them together. So if you see West 1 and figure 2, they are together. And I'm saying I want a toolbar location. So the toolbar, what it does, like whenever you have interactions, you can refresh it, you can search things, you can save it, you can save this plot in your computer if you like to. And the refreshing will come after whenever you use the interaction. Right now, it's not needed. The other option that you could do is that you could have tabs here on top with each plot. Of course, this is not needed to do because you might want to have both together. I just did it to illustrate the example. So for the tabs, this is the code that we will use. What we're using here, we are going to use tab and panel from Bokeh models widgets, and it's like using this grid plot that we used before. But this is really straightforward. So this is the same as I did before, the size, but I'm putting it bigger. I want it to look bigger. And I'm creating a panel this time. Instead of using grid plot, I'm creating a panel per each. So one panel is the second place and one panel is the third place. So West panel 1 will have a child which is equal to the figure 1. And the figure 1, what is the figure 1? The Boston Celtics. And the figure 2 is the Toronto. So I'm saying for each, what is going in each tab. And then I'm assigning the panels to the tabs. So I'm saying a variable called tabs, and I'm saying tabs, and I'm open parentheses, and tabs is equals to West panel 1 and West panel 2. So I'm calling it. And here you have second place and third place. So you could have multiple here. So if you're going to show to someone, explain something and go to over a storytelling, you can have multiple and you can go just moving forward to explain it. So like I said before, the panel is to create each tab, and the tab is what it organizes it to create it with the panel together. Each panel has a child, which can either be a figure or a layout as well. So here is more information about layouts as well. Now let's look a little bit about interactions. So in the interaction, it's really, really cool because you can do a lot of things with it. So I really try to illustrate just the most important ones. And there are many, like you could have data visualizations that move around, and you can move the mouse and it will do it as well. The things that you could do: configure the toolbar, you can select different data points, you can add hover actions, like if you hover in one of the plots, it will give you more information. You can link access and selections as well. You can highlight data and use a legend with. So we'll cover a few of them. So the first thing we'll do is configure the toolbar. So what we do here is with the same data that I have, but I'm going to use the player stats, and I'm going to find at least the first 3 points showing during the season. So the ones that have more than 0 first. I'm copying that information in here in 3 takers. And I'm saying, first create me a name, because the name and the last name is separate, but I wanted it together. So I'm just adding it to the data frame. I'm just adding first and last name together. And I'm just aggregating there for the points. So I'm grouping it day by name, and I'm just choosing these 2 columns, which give me that information. I'm sorting it by this one, and I'm just ascending it false. And then after that, I'm just gonna filter the ones that has at least 100 points. And I'm calculating a percentage of that. The calculation of the percentage for the basketball is points made versus divided by attempts. And this is my final work of the data I did. So now I'm importing the libraries again. So in here I have numeral tick formatter. So I'm using this because I want to format the values of one of the fields to use it as percentage. So you can do that in there as well. So I'm doing the output notebook in here. I'm creating my column data source from my tree takers, which is the data I work in here. And now I'm adding this part, specifying the selection of tools to be made available. So I'm adding a boso, I'm adding a lasso select, a poly select, a tab, and a reset. And I'll show you that in a minute too. So I'm creating my figure as before, the height, the width, what is my axis, labels, what is my titles, my toolbar location, I want to be lower this time. And this is what I was saying before, that why did I import the numeral tick formatter. So you can say with the figure, I want in the y-axis, I want to format it and I wanted to put it as 0%, like 0%, I'm sorry, as percentage, the value. That's the format that I wanted it to show. So I'm doing now a square. This time I'm using fig, that is square. What is my values for X and Y, my source, because I'm using column data source, which is tree takers, CDS. And then I'm saying use color royal blue, selection of the color deep sky blue, because whenever I do selection, it's gonna change the color a little bit. And non-selection is gonna be a light gray. So you'll see that in a minute. And then I show my figure. So I have my figure here. So if I do this, ta-da, then you have that. So you are just picking, like looking at the information in there, and you're just selecting everything else behind. That's why I'm using these different colors to be able to show it. But I can reset it if I need to, or I can just pick it again. And I can play with it. Okay, now adding the hover options. So what are we going to do now is, like, if I put my mouse in here, I'll get all the information based on this point. What is it about? So I'm importing now Bokeh.models. We imported the hover tool. And this is really short code. I create tooltips and I say what is the information I want. So I want the player name. I want the 3 pointers made. So I'll say the at and the name of the variable, what it is, the name of what it is, I'm sorry. So like if you have here the information, you say which name it is. You refer to these names. So if I go back here, you'll say I want this one as name, this one, and I want this one, which I created with the percentage. And then I said, add the tools to the hover tool and then to the tooltips. The tooltips which is this one, I'm assigning it here to be able to use it. So that means that if I go here, I'll get all that information. I get the player name, I get the points that the player made, I get the 3 pointers attempted, and I get the percentage as well. And I can still do the hover thing if I want to. I have that option. And that's it. So you have one last exercise if you wanted to try. I hope it's not a lot of information. I think Bokeh library is really, really good. I think it's not very complicated to use. It just takes a little practice. But this one, it says, create a circle plot with the data below where you can, with the data, well, I put the word below, there was a mistake, but with the same data we were using, and you'll get bonus points if you use the column data source. So what we want to do is points versus rebounds for LeBron James. So in using the column data source, so don't use Python, or you could if you want to, whatever you think is easier for you. But you could do all of that, use the view and the group filter as well. So for the data set, because you probably don't know it, you can use player stats data frame, and you can use play PTS field and play TRB. For play PTS is the points, and the rebounds is play TRB. And if you have any questions in the meantime, you can go ahead and ask.
Let me just jump in to say real quick that if anybody wants to just unmute and, ask your question by voice, you're more than welcome to do that. You don't have to just type your questions in the chat.
Yes, Anita, in the notebook, the data set is in there. So I want to go ahead here again to my GitHub. And then the data is here. So you can refer to the data. But even though if you use the notebook, you can download it from here. Here are the exercise solutions, and here is all what I went over today. And you also have the data here to download it. You can have two options. You can either download it for Collab if it's more comfortable for you, or you can just clone this and get everything from here. Yeah, we are doing a recording right now, so you can look at that later. They will publish it in a couple days. And it's going to be in the Women Who Call YouTube. Oh, I think Megan already answered that. I'm reading what Megan answered. Let me see the GitHub again.
Liliana, when you're after you're done with that, can you talk about some reasons why we would pick this over like Plotly or Seaborn?
So honestly, you can use any. It all depends on what you want to do, because this one is really flexible. Like you could use it in a website if you want to, and you can represent it really easy. Because if I go here to mine and I change this plot, let me change one plot here. If instead of saying output notebook here, I'll say output file. And I'll change output file to it. And I think it's name, if I didn't forget. I probably already forgot. File.html. So if you do this, it will render in another page. So you'll have that flexibility. So now if you're working like with other coders and you just want to share this, you can just share it with this. So I think this is pretty flexible and easier. So it all depends on what you wanted to use, but I think this one is really interactive for you to work in. And that's like I said, my humble opinion. But you could use any, and I haven't used Seaborn that much, so I can say that much about Seaborn. And if someone has an opinion, I would love to hear it, but I think it just depends on what you want to do. And I think Bokeh is great for the interactivity that it has. And I think it's a little easier. Like even Matplotlib, I had a lot of trouble learning it. And I'm still learning it. I'm still getting lost. And here, when I started practice this one, I got the hangs of it really easy. And I liked it because you can group things and you can do things just with Bokeh, and you don't have to use a lot of pandas either. So you have that option. And there is other filters that you could use. There are many. And also visualizations that you could do that these will move, like with your mouse, it will move around. Like if you have, let's say like you're looking for the whole glucose exercise and you want to look the whole month, and you can move it and hover it, it will move back and forth. So it has all those things. I don't know if Seaborn had that, maybe it will has it or not, but I think that is cool. And I think the HTML part as well, that makes it more interactive for you to share it. Like for example, if you work for yourself and you want to go and present something and you don't want to pay for Tableau or you don't want to pay for Power BI or those tools, you could use this and render into an HTML. And that's the beauty of this. Here is in the greatest thing, like you have a gallery here and you could look at things, any different things that you wanted to look as well. And you could add things in here. You could add labels. And you have different examples you could get the code of as well. You could do anything. And the other thing is that you have a really, really good gallery, a really good reference, which is easier to understand. When I came here and I went to the reference, it was great. And the user guide as well, you have a quick start and it shows you how to use that part as well, and the most important things that you need to learn first by order. So it's really, really well documented. Any other questions? And you can all talk, so there's no problem with talking. And also you can try the exercises, but you'll have them in the in here. This is the other one that I don't know if I mentioned this. I think I did too. So I'll be there. This is the first answer. The second one looked like the, okay, I have to create a copy. Oh, this one has an error. Probably have to run it again. So let me save a copy. Well, I already have it here. Run it. So this one, what is looked the first solution. The second one looked like this. That was the glucose, the value, and the time. And then for this one, for the third exercise, this is how it looks like. So I added the tool list and everything just for fun. And this is how it looks, the rebounds versus the points. And I can still do those kind of things. So I can block that or not. Here I can block that, or I can refresh it or save in it. So if I want to save this, oh, I'm sorry. If you save it as an image. And then you have your plot, just if you want to share it. Cool. Well, that's all. Thank you everyone for hearing me tonight. And I hope you enjoyed and learned something. And if you always have any questions, we're open to it. And I think we said that we could do breakout rooms and we could hang out for a little bit and stop talking about code.
Absolutely. If anyone's interested, I'd love to start some breakout rooms and we can just kind of network and chat. Otherwise, I think the main presentation is over if that's something that doesn't interest you. So I'll just give everyone a minute and then I'll start some of the breakout room sessions.
You're welcome, everyone. Happy to share something.
All right, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and start this and then I'll see whoever soon.
Are we still recording?
Oh yeah, I should probably stop. Good call.